Hi everyone, I'm Mei from Empower to Be Free, and welcome to today's session of Is Finding Meaningful Job Important? Thank you everyone for coming to today's session, and today I have with me Daniel from CARE Singapore, who will be sharing his story. Now, Daniel is a youth worker at CARE, and his work at CARE is to provide support to at-risk youths, assisting them in coping with ins and outside of life outside school. Now, before I pass it on to Daniel, can I invite everyone to complete a quick poll? And this is for reporting purposes to our funder, National Youth Council. So I'll just bring up the poll. So if I can invite everyone to just complete that poll. Take you a couple of minutes. All right, I'm just going to leave the poll open for anyone to have yet submit that. But in the meantime, I'd just like to thank everyone for being here today, and let us now welcome Daniel. Daniel, thank you for being here today with us to share your story. So I'll just hand over the floor to you, and could you just share with us your story and how you got to CARE Singapore today?
All right. Okay. Hi everyone. So my name is Daniel, and I'm from CARE Singapore. So currently, I'm actually a youth worker at St. Gabriel Secondary School. So I'm just gonna share a bit more about myself and this and how I got into CARE Singapore in the first place. So this dates back to when I was applying for university. So I guess when I was applying, I sort of had an idea of where my interest lay. So what I was interested in was actually psychology, because I've always been intrigued and curious about how humans function and why they do what they do. So however, my parents were pretty Asian parents, so they were pretty against it, and they asked me like a few questions that very normal Asian parents would ask if you decide to express interest in something that you disagree with which they disagree with. So they asked me a few questions. One of it was, so what are you going to do after your studies? How long is it going to take to get your degree? Can you get a good job? Can you earn a lot of money to sort of do well in Singapore? So to be honest, at the age of 18 to 20, I honestly didn't really have an answer to what my parents were asking of me. So at the end of the day, because I couldn't answer it, right? So I just ended up following their wishes. And because my dad at the point of time, he did business, so he had a very good impression of business, and they felt that business was a sort of general enough degree to sort of open up doors to various jobs. So they wanted me to study business. So at the point of time, because I couldn't answer their questions, right? So I just studied business, and during my second year of business, I could specialize in certain aspects of business. So I decided to choose, because I couldn't choose my degree, right? So I decided to choose the specialization that was closest to psychology, which at the point of time was human resources. Mm-hmm. So I studied for 3 years, and after that, because I felt that like after I attained my degree, I at the very least I wanted to try out what I studied to make sure that it wasn't a waste. So when I started working, I did 2 jobs before I came to CARE Singapore. So this is actually my 3rd job. Mm-hmm. And the first job I actually did recruitment, and second job I entered payroll. So during those periods, I did both for about like 1+ years. So I worked for about 3 years, and to be honest, during those 3 years, I didn't really find much joy and meaning in doing what I was doing. Mm-hmm. And every time I went to work, I felt that it was very mundane, it was very boring, and it was extremely uninteresting to me. So so also at the same time, while I was doing both these jobs, I think maybe this is something that some of you have experienced. I was going through what some would call an existential crisis, or a midlife crisis, quarter life crisis, whatever you would like to call it. And during this period, I really thought of and wondered about like what was the meaning of life. Why am I here on earth? What am I supposed to do in this world? And to be honest, I at this point in time, I asked a lot of people this question as well. And to be honest, I don't think I've gotten a satisfactory answer up to today.
Mm.
So because of all this, I wanted to take some time. I decided that I wanted to take some time for myself. So I did what a lot of normal, okay, not normal, but like I guess what people would imagine someone with a midlife crisis or existential crisis would do, which is perhaps to take some time to think about your life and reflect about it. And a lot of times people go on solo travels to do it. So I decided that I would attempt that in hopes that it would cure my crisis. So I did 2 solo travels. The first one was actually to Cambodia. So I went there for 10 days in hopes that as a, try it out, see whether I would be, I can do the solo trip, I can handle the loneliness, I can handle the solitude and whatnot. And I did have quite a lot of time to myself. But the thing is, like, a lot of times when you solo travel, or at least I was using Instagram. I was still texting my family. I was still texting my friends. They were asking me, "Oh, where do you go? What is this place? So cool." And the fact is that with a lot of new like visual and audio stimulus coming in from the sites that you see, a lot of new things that you've never seen before, you don't really have that much time to really sit down and think about like where is my life going, what's the meaning of life, what's going to happen, and what do I plan to do in the near future. So because there was so much stimulus that I didn't really have time to think, so I came back. It was a great trip, but to be honest, I didn't get any like new findings out of that. So I decided, you know what, since that didn't work for me, I'm going to try again. So I took a second solo trip to Bhutan. So as maybe some of you have heard before, so Bhutan is actually known as the happiest place on earth. And that's because they don't use GDP, they use gross national happiness index. So and which measures quality of life. So I decided that since this is the happiest place on earth, how about I go there and understand why they are the happiest place on earth, and maybe that's something that I can help to achieve for myself, because I was not happy during this 3 to 4 years of my life. So when I went there, I think the thing is, when you go to Bhutan, you're not allowed to solo travel, because every tourist that goes in has to have a guide and a driver attached to them, and that's basically what you pay for. So I wasn't exactly solo, but so I didn't exactly have a lot of time to think for myself. But what I learned there was why Bhutan is called the land of happiness. And it's not because like they are rich or anything. In fact, it's quite the reverse. Most of them are not rich. They live within their means. They have their farms, they have homestays, they invite guests over, they house you, they talk to you with like their limited English, and they provide you with what limited things they had. So they will give you like their bread, their cheese, and then they will try and like teach you maybe like how they make their cheese or their milk or parts of their daily life. And I think what I understood is that they are so happy because they don't really have anything to compare to, because they're not very connected to the rest of the world. So they don't really know how the rest of the world is living. And without that comparison, they live very happy and fulfilled lives, because they feel that what they have is great, because they don't know what comparisons there are out there, which is quite the opposite in Singapore, where you're so connected that you can you can compare to everything. You can compare to your friends' life, people's lives overseas, or maybe they have it easier and they're richer there, or they have less working hours there, whatever. And the thing is that there's always something to complain about, and there's always something to compare to, and that's something that I decided to bring back to Singapore. But the thing is, at this point of time, there's so much new stimulus that I didn't really have time to really think about what I wanted to do. I realized I've been rambling on for quite a while, so I'm going to make it fast. So
it's okay. It's okay. Yeah.
So after that, I decided that I would. So I think the final thing that I wanted to really do to myself would be to really like take some time to think about my life and where I wanted it to go. So I went for this thing called Vipassana meditation. So Vipassana meditation is actually a method of meditation, and the one I signed up for was the 10-day course. So basically, what it does is that the course brings you to like a secluded area. Mine was in Serangoon Scouts Camp. I went there with a bunch of, I think about like 40 over other people. So basically the rules there is that you would meditate for 10 days. You don't have phones, you don't have, so you cannot use your phones, you cannot talk to people, you cannot exercise, you cannot read, you cannot write, you basically cannot do anything other than eat, sleep, and meditate. So, and the thing is that, so basically we meditate for like maybe 12 to like 14 hours a day. And to be honest, this is my first time meditating. So this was probably the most difficult thing that I've ever done in my entire life. But I think it provided me with like a lot of spare time, I guess. Like 14 hours per day times 10, that's about 140 hours to really think about like where my life is leading, what do I really want to do. So during this period of time, because the thing is, it's very scary to be alone in your mind, because sometimes your mind can lead you to dark places. And during this period, I was very mentally trying, but I tried my best to make use of the time. And I realized what I really wanted in a job, because during my previous two jobs, I realized that what I found very tiring about it was that it was desk bound. So I realized I cannot have a desk bound job, and that there was very little human interaction. For recruitment, there was a fair bit of human interaction, but there was a lot of admin work to be done. So I realized that I needed two things in my job, which was to not for the work not to be desk bound. Second was that I needed human interaction, and quite a fair bit of it. And the last thing that I considered was and for any of you like that really wants to find like meaningful jobs, what I would encourage you to do would be to think about like what you like to do in your free time. Perhaps you like to trade, or perhaps you like to look at like stocks or whatever. Perhaps that's something you may want to do, or perhaps you like to play sports. You enjoy perhaps basketball or soccer, and then that's perhaps something you may want to consider pursuing, or music perhaps. So the thing is, for me, what I enjoyed, or I treasured in my spare time, was that I enjoyed going out with my friends, and what I enjoyed the most was the one-on-one, sincere and genuine talks about their life, whether it be good, whether they got engaged, they went on a great holiday, they found a new partner, the family is doing well, or whether they had something difficult that they had to go through, perhaps breaking up with a partner, or perhaps they didn't get the job that they want. All these things I really enjoyed. I don't find like joy in the bad things, of course, but I really just enjoyed just sitting there and listening to their stories, because I really like to connect and engage with people. And I find that sincere human connection something that I seek out time and time again. So for me, because of all these three things, which is that I enjoy listening to people's stories, I need human interaction, plus I also need, I cannot have a desk-bound job. So one of the choices that I had was that of perhaps a youth worker or a counselor. So that was when I decided to make my choice to take like my life in my own hands. So I decided to get a master's in guidance and counselling at James Cook University. So I studied for 2 years, and then I interned because I interned last year at Care Singapore from Feb to December. And during that period, I realized that youth was something that they're very precious, basically, and they are basically our future. And the more I work with them, I guess the more attached I got to them, because I felt that there was so much more that I can help out with in their life, as rather than just being an intern that I was last year. So I decided that this year I would I joined Care Singapore to be a youth worker in St. Gabriel Secondary School, so that I can help them, I guess, further. I help them further in their journey towards a better life, perhaps. Yeah. So I guess that's it for my extremely low-soul story.
It's okay. I think it's a very, very insightful story. Thank you for sharing. I'd like to ask the audience, if you have any questions for Daniel, you can ask ahead. You just unmute yourself and ask any burning questions that you have of him.
That sounded like a very, very long time to for you to like process everything and to like think through what was the hardest thing and how did you overcome it?
That's a very good question.
So the hardest thing in terms of what, the entirety of the journey or the meditation, or is there a specific part or just in general?
In general, because you
I see.
like your midlife crisis and all sounds very very hard. I will also like panic.
I see. Okay. Yeah. So I guess during that period, I think what really was troubling me and what was very, very difficult for me to accept was that I didn't know like where my life was leading. And I honestly, I mean, I don't think I can diagnose myself at this point. I was probably suffering from some level of depression because I like, it's basically like waking up each day to like a job that I didn't really want to go to. And basically I was just at a job just for the sake of survival, and which I felt was one of the lousiest feelings that I felt before in my life. And I didn't really have anything to like look forward to specifically. Like a job was something that I didn't really want to do. I think at the point of time I didn't really have that much hobbies as well, and I guess that the only things that I really look forward to were to like meeting my friends, and perhaps as a lot of Singaporeans would say, their December holidays, which I would travel. But regardless, like I felt that these kind of things are very, they're not really enough to keep like a person really satisfied in like moving forward in their life. And I felt that something really had to be done about it. But sometimes there's lack of knowledge, and sometimes there's also a lot of inertia. And there was a lot of inertia for me because I felt that there was no real reason for me to really find something that was like a lot more meaningful. And sometimes, you know, when you're like in that state of, I would say not depression, but like you just feel like there's like life sucks basically. like life just really sucks. And I felt that I think it went on for like a year plus too. And I think this entire period was probably the most difficult thing that I had to go through, because I felt that I just went through it in a haze. And it's to the point I don't really have much memories of it, because it was that meaningless. And yeah, I just couldn't find like anything to keep like really myself going. Yeah. If that answers your question, I guess. Yeah. So I guess that was probably what I felt was the most difficult. The second most difficult thing would probably be my meditation, because 10 days without human interaction, without your phone, without exercise, without reading, basically without any form of stimulus, is I would say quite intense, to say the least.
Oh, okay. That's very interesting and encouraging to hear about how you got through it and managed to find your what you're passionate about.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? Anyone?
Sorry, can I ask a question?
Of course.
Oh, please do.
Yeah. So my question is like because like you say, like youth work and counseling is a meaningful job, right? But it's also like a big responsibility. Then like as a youth yourself, or like when you come from like background and stuff, like wasn't it like intimidating, or like do you have like fears or insecurities about like joining this like line like this, like yeah, it's like a responsibility kind of, like, you know, like
Yes.
as a youth worker or counselor. Yeah.
I perfectly understand the concerns, and I deeply empathize with that, because I also had a lot of insecurities coming into this, because the thing is, as it, like, even though you may have like I may have gone through, I may have gotten my degree, or I may have gone through classes, or in theory basically, and the only practical that we had was with our course mates lah. So basically, but with your course mates, it's a different thing, because you know that it's going to turn out fine, because they are your course mates, and it's not an actual client that you're going to see. But so when, to be honest, when I first went into St. Gabriel's, and on the first day, I went there, I was introduced to the students. I didn't take any students on the first day. On the second day that I went there, one of my colleagues introduced me to one of the boys that she wanted me to sort of help to assist throughout Sec 2. To be honest, I was shaking and I wanted to go to the toilet very badly because I was really scared. I was really, really scared that like I would say something wrong, or that I would like cause further harm to this person if I don't say the correct thing. So I kept like second guessing myself, and to the point that I started like stuttering because like I didn't really know what to say. And to be honest, this usually doesn't happen to me, but I think I was just so nervous and insecure about like how I was going to proceed in this that I didn't do very well for my first session. After that, the thing is, I think if you're asking like how to overcome that, for me, how I did it was that I had a lot of chats with my colleagues, and my colleagues were extremely supportive people, because I think one thing in the social sector is that there are a lot of fantastic people so they are more than willing to guide you and help like assist you with like the difficulties that you face. And this is purely my experience. I'm not saying from like any other perspective, but I felt that the support that I got in the social sector was a lot more than the support that I got in the private sector, because people here were way more willing to like help you with difficulties that you face, because they have also faced the same thing before, and there's no real incentive for them to like not help you. Like, I think sometimes in the private sector there are incentives to not help you, which is how I felt when I was there for 3+ years. But coming here, I feel that there's no shame in asking for help, and people are more than willing to help you here, which is what I truly enjoy about Care Singapore, at least, because I think I haven't joined I haven't seen the other companies, but for Care Singapore, I think the colleagues are truly quite supportive, which is why I decided to join even after my internship. Yeah, so I hope that helps. I hope that answers the question.
It does, yeah. That's so nice. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I have a question for you, Daniel. Considering that when you first started out wanting to study psychology, and then your parents were pretty against it.
Yeah.
And then you went on to doing a corporate job. What is the biggest challenge transitioning from going into the corporate job to the social service sector?
Oh, you're throwing me tough questions today. Sorry, the biggest transition, the biggest difficulty transitioning is
yes, like because like say there will like be people second guessing you, like asking you why do you want to give up maybe a much higher
paying job, maybe. Yes.
Kind of questions. I'm sure. Do you get that?
Of course, yeah. And
Yeah.
okay, so basically, like when I decided to transition over, or even when I decided to start studying, it was something very out of the norm for like, I guess, the normal Singapore life.
Correct.
And to be honest, a lot of my friends came to ask me, family members included. So basically, my close family, which is my sister, my dad, and my mom, I've already explained to them like how I'm going to work this out and why I want this. But for other like relatives and friends, they always come and ask me like, why did you do this? Like, why would you like do some mid-career, maybe not like, but it's like early career transition, when I could have like easily just continue on in the private sector if I wanted to. And I think my answer is always that I think finding meaning in what you do is vital, because doing something that perhaps pays well or is good in one aspect will not last you for a long period of time. And I feel that something that you're passionate about, even though maybe it may not like be the best paying or like the most like amazing job that people respect, but and I'm not saying people don't respect social sector, but like a lot of times people look at like especially in the private sector, they look at pay, they look at prestige, they look at like your position, but a lot of times finding something that you are truly passionate in can help to sustain you in leading a higher quality life and to generally just to lead a happier life. And I think for me at least, I prioritize that over like a high positioning job or a high paying job. Yeah, and I think to answer the question, probably the most difficult thing would be to face like the amount of, I wouldn't say opposition, but like doubts about my choice. Yeah, which was something that I did face quite a lot.
And how did you overcome that?
How did I overcome that? I think for me it's just like a lot of times people may cast doubts on like what you plan to do or like how you plan to lead your life. And the thing is that's as much as they might be important people, that is their opinion on how life should be led or like how life should proceed on. But the thing is, I think everyone's different and everyone's entitled to their own opinion. Of course, they're probably not wrong and they probably say like out of concern or maybe out of curiosity. So the thing is, I think, is to just when you make your decision, make sure that you are firm about it and that you're not going to have any regrets. So make sure at the point when you make your decision, you are set on it and just basically don't look back after you made that decision. Because there will always be times where you will doubt yourself. And those are the times that you need your conviction to be strong to continue in what you really want out of life.
I think that's a very, very powerful advice that you've just given all of us.
I hope so.
Yeah. So for the last question, which I think you have already answered, but I'd just like to ask to end this session, is finding meaningful work important?
I think for that, like without a doubt, it's a definite yes, because I think that like meaning in job translate into, for me at least, because the thing is like your job's going to take up so much of your time. Like basically if you really count like a normal job, like 9 to 6, that's going to be about 3+. That's 9 times 5, that's 45 hours per week that you're going to be spending at your job. Most of the time you're going to be spending sleeping, and you're probably only going to have like maybe 2 or 3 hours at night, and like your weekends, sometimes you have to work on weekends as well. And the thing is like finding meaning in your job basically is the same as finding meaning in your life, because it's just simply going to take up so much of the time in your life. So I think it's vital for everyone to find. And to be honest, I'm very grateful and very happy when I see people find meaning in their jobs and life, because I think it's something that perhaps is not, in my opinion, not the most common. And it's always something very grateful when I see. And it like makes me very happy when I see people find meaning in their life. Yeah.
All right. Thanks you for sharing with us, Daniel. So we have come to the end of today's session, and just want to thank everyone for giving up your time today and even staying on for the extra 6 minutes while Daniel share. Yeah. Before you go, no, I think it's a very, very good session that you have shared, very good story that you have shared with us. I just want to thank everybody for their time, and also Daniel for your time. Now, before everyone goes, can I just invite everyone here to do a post-event survey? I'm just going to launch it right now. And I just want to thank again Daniel for sharing your story. Really hope that everyone enjoyed listening to Daniel. And while you are completing the poll, I just want to say that there's also 5 other speakers that will be sharing their stories on 30th June. So you can the registration is still open. And so if you'd like to hear their stories, do go on to Eventbrite and register to hear their stories. All right, thank you for completing the poll. Just want to thank everyone again. And I just want to thank Daniel. Yeah, so I wish all of you a good evening. If you haven't had your dinner, go enjoy your dinner. Yep.
Thank you everyone for listening to me.
Thank you.